I always remember this Matt Healy quote: "You can't be wise and in love." Dang it, it's true, I felt more pressure to kind of stick to one thing for consistency's sake, and I hear that from anybody who's in, like, marketing or I don't know, do you feel that way, like, in things that you create? Like, you need to, like, have a
No.
brand, right? It's all about branding.
I think branding is more important when you don't actually have a message, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But I think if you have something to say and you say it well, then like that's gonna resonate with people.
I write about the bad things. She was mostly good though. That's the difference between her and me. I still choose to hold both.
This is the Lifted Spirits podcast, where we raise a glass, share encouraging thoughts and stories, and discuss how we find meaning through family, friendship, business, art, and everything in between. Today, I'm talking with Austin Collazo, who is a musician and also a dentist. Interesting combo. So we talk about his music journey and just some of his everything from heartbreak to falling in love again to social media and the love-hate relationship with it, and how to just slow down as Americans. So enjoy the conversation. For starters, this is Austin, and I like asking people, well, just what's the best thing that's happened to you in the past month?
Oh. Honestly, moving to Arkansas. So I was in kind of all over, but most stably in California for a little while. And it was time to come home. Arkansas is home for me. I grew up here, so that literally happened within the last month.
Yeah.
It's good to be back.
Yeah. What was your favorite part about California that you miss now that you're back here, and vice versa? Like something that you're like, oh, I'm so glad to be back in Arkansas.
Yeah, totally. That's a great question. I mean, I moved out there and I was in Los Angeles. I moved out there to pursue music, really, and maybe some other things in the creative industry. And I always had this dream of moving out there, because it's like where the wildest, pipe dreams come true. And it honestly, it did feel like that's kind of a reality out there. Like everybody is after that thing. Though it's kind of this dangling carrot that the chase may never end. At the same time, even in the short time that I was out there, I like saw people realizing dreams, even myself, like playing shows I never imagined, just like these things that happen. And I love the pursuit of a dream like that, just kind of being like a big starry-eyed kid. And so it feels like that was kind of the mecca of that, and that's something that I miss, but I'm okay with giving it up because all the things that I love here, I mean, like I said, I grew up here, and so kinda just it feels so genuine to me, and to my roots. I have lots of good friends in Arkansas, Fayetteville and Little Rock and kinda all over. Um, it's really green here, and we have the Ozark Mountains. It's just I think the way of life truly is my favorite thing about here, and I'm still kind of getting adjusted, but so far, so good.
Yeah. Yeah, and Southern hospitalities can be comforting of not that there's definitely Southern inhospitality too, but you just like driving down a small road and waving to people as you pass and things like
Yeah,
that.
totally. I had forgotten about that aspect of being in the South and people just say hi to you, like walking down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And it's like a readjusting to that, though I like it, I'm like, oh, it's okay to like just be like friendly
Yeah.
to strangers.
Yeah. And then before getting into too much of what you do and how you're defined that way, I like asking the question instead of what do you like what are you like? Like if you had to describe yourself, how would you describe yourself?
Introverted, a dreamer, and I like deep conversations with friends. That would probably sum up a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, That's we've got a lot in common then.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so but now you can go into a little
Mm,
like who are you? What do you do? All that kind
mm.
of thing.
Um, maybe like, I mean, a big way that I spend my time is what my career is that
Mhm.
makes me money, which is being a dentist. And
Mhm.
so, um, I went straight through school right after college, went to dental school, graduated. But shortly after finishing dental school, I mean, I was working full time, but I got into acting. And so then for like 2 or 3 years, I started acting and just that's kinda what took me out to LA too, so I'd consider myself an actor that, smaller projects, right?
Yeah.
Commercials, independent films, things like that, but I love it, and then, in the past couple years, got back into music as a singer-songwriter
Mhm.
and as an artist, and so I would say that, like, the music is the thing I've taken most seriously outside of dentistry.
Mhm.
It's the thing that I probably invested the most of my time and money and efforts into, and really was, wanted to see kind of what could come of that, and still am doing a lot of that in ways, but it looks different than it did when I was out in Los Angeles, certainly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, those are the few of the ways that I spend my time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what started your music journey? Like, were you writing in junior high and stuff,
Yeah.
or?
So, probably when I was like 15, just like you use YouTube to, learn how to play the guitar, and then I started singing along with it. And one thing led to another. Had like a band in high school. We released some songs and played some shows. And then I did it through college. And then in college, I kind of got burned out of it. I was just like, I don't know about this. I spent some time in Nashville. So after that, I kind of most of my music time was just in like worship and
Mhm.
leading worship in the church or just in various forms of that for the following years. And then I kind of just gave it up, like let dust gather on the guitar case for I don't know how many years while I, was doing other things and then unexpectedly, maybe I mean it takes time to get to this point, but um during COVID, my ex and I got a divorce, which was a process, but went through a divorce, moved cities, and I was on my own again. And
Mhm.
this was like this. I didn't quite know what to do with my time,
Mhm.
honestly. I mean, I was working, but it was just like, what do I do? And obviously, it was a very emotional time as well. I got out the guitar and I started playing, and it was kind of as simple as that. I was in this one-bedroom apartment in Atlanta, Georgia, and, uh, truly, I hardly realized that I was doing this at the time, but I was using, playing music again as just a way to, cope and process all the feelings of the
Mhm.
divorce, and so it was probably about a year after that where I had, like, written a song or 2, and I ended up showing them to, like, one of my best friends, and then another friend, and then another friend, and people were like, "That's really cool, you should record that." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I used to do music, but,
Uh,
nah, no, it's all good." And then I kept writing, and then eventually, as an actor, because I was doing acting at the time, it was, you just kinda sit around and wait for an email to come through or a phone
mm.
call, which is pretty, um, uh, that's hard to do, is sit around and
Uh-huh.
wait for an opportunity, so I was just like, "You know what? Whatever, I'll record a song and let's see how it goes." So I
Yeah.
reached out to this producer who, I'd gotten the name of, and we started working together, and then I put out a song, and I was like, "Well, that was a lot of fun, I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
doing it." And so what felt really special to me kinda this time around doing music was that there was nothing planned about it. There was I didn't really want anything or need anything from
Mhm.
it. Um, um, as much as I have always hated to admit this, I always wanted to be famous.
Uh-huh.
And so I felt like I was using music in the past or acting as like a way to reach fame.
Mhm.
And this time around, when I was doing music, it was just like, oh, this just feels like an outpouring of my heart. So
Mhm.
this feels really nice. I'll just continue to do this. And then yeah, that's how I got back into it and wrote like a short album or
Mm.
EP of songs kind of about the breakup process.
Mm.
Um, and then I was like, you know what? I'm having a really good time. So did it. Yeah, kept doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget when I first heard your music because sometimes you see a friend that you knew from college or high school and they
Mm.
put out music and you listen to it and you're like, that was not good. And so you almost go in expecting that. And then, but the first song I heard was one of your songs about the breakup, and it was really like you're very good at storytelling.
Oh,
I
wow.
noticed,
Huh.
like me and my wife were listening to something while we were driving yesterday because I was like, oh, I'm gonna interview my friend tomorrow, and he's a really good storyteller
Oh,
because yeah, I feel like I rank things, movies or music or
yeah.
whatever, on how it affects me,
Oh, totally.
and yeah, it
Oh,
was
what's your
so relatable of even one of the first lines is like I'm not the good guy, you're not the bad, something like that. And it's very fair sided. It's not just
mm,
like some of the Taylor Swift songs where it's just like it's all your fault or something. It's
100%.
very self aware
Yeah.
and yeah, going through all the like the good, the bad, and the ugly, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I just think your writing and storytelling is really good. But
No, I appreciate that. It's weird. I felt like this time, like when I started writing songs again, it was different than the way that I used to write, and sometimes I felt like it was because I was listening to a lot of country music the whole time, like, when I
yeah.
started writing songs again, and I, like, really appreciated the storytelling aspect of country music, um, and I was listening to a lot of Morgan Wallen. I think he
Uh-huh.
maybe just put out one of his initial albums or something. I was like, "Oh, this is fun." And,
Hmm.
for whatever reason, I was listening to a lot of country, and I think that affected, like, kind of the
Yeah.
following songs, as it always does, like, what you're listening to. Um, and, um, yeah, and then speaking to the kind of, I don't know, playing both sides in songwriting, there was other songs I had written that I never released where, um, I definitely even took more of the, I don't know, maybe fault, if you will, or
Uh-huh.
the blame, 'cause I think truly in my songwriting, it really is. I mean, most of the time it's really a self-reflection,
Mhm.
more than a, kind of outward, like, here's what you did, here's what this
Yeah.
person did or whatever. It's really like, "Oh gosh, I
Mhm.
don't feel so good about myself.
Yeah.
I need to write a song,"
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's even country music. I actually made a Facebook post about this, about how country music can sometimes people think of it as very, I don't know, like, country. So
Yeah.
they're like, ah,
Yeah.
these dumb country
Yeah.
people. And but you never hear a country song and at the end of it think, what was that about? Like it's very clear and it's very universal and relatable. Whereas Coldplay makes great music, but most of their songs, I'm like, I
It's in
have
the
no idea
atmosphere somewhere.
what's going on. And countries like breakups and your dog died and you lost your house or
Yeah.
you lost your job or whatever. and
Totally.
and I love those like universally appealing things. Like I think one of the best songs ever
Mhm.
written. It's not a country song necessarily, but Tracy Chapman's "Fast Car"
Oh,
because it's
right.
just a story,
Oh,
like
yeah.
a story that anyone can
Yeah.
listen to and
Yeah.
understand and relate to. And
Yeah.
so I think you have that
Mm.
talent too of like just
Mm.
telling
Mhm.
stories.
Yeah, it's been kinda interesting to note how, like, different seasons affect, songwriting too. I mean, I I know that you as an artist in many forms experience this as well, but, like,
Mhm.
depending on what you're going through or even, like, where you live too,
Uh-huh.
like, how it affects, the things that you're creating, and, that might sound sort of cliche, but it really is it's been kind of, noticeable for me because it started out like I wanted to tell a really clear story about, my breakup and things like that. And country-ish felt
Uh-huh.
like a genre to tap into. I don't even know if you consider it country,
Mhm.
but maybe there's hints of it. And then, but there's this whole other like, there's a lot of genres that I like.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of been an interesting thing to navigate because I love just straight up like mountain folk,
Uh-huh.
acoustic
Oh
folk
yeah.
music, where you're just singing about rivers and
Yeah.
valleys and whatever. And that's been an interesting thing to navigate as like as I've kind of delved into pursuing music as more of like a career,
Mhm.
to like make money from it.
Mhm.
I felt more like pressure to kind of stick to one thing for
Mhm.
consistency's sake. And I hear that from anybody who's in like marketing or um, any type of that side of it. And that's always been a really difficult thing for me,
Mhm.
really, really tough to stick with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So I don't know. Do you feel that way, like in things that you create? Like you need to like
I
have a
don't know.
brand, right? It's
Uh-huh.
all about branding.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I think branding is more important when you don't actually have a message, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, if you're not to, I don't want to hate on other artists,
Yeah.
but like, if you're just putting something out because you want to put something out, or like fun music, which there's a place for that, where it's just like,
Yeah.
party, having a good time.
Yeah.
But I think if you have something to say and you say it well, then like that's going to resonate with
Mm.
people. And it doesn't, if you switch things up a little, like people aren't going to care.
Yeah.
And so
Huh.
I think the meaningfulness is way more important than the outer
Speaks
shell
for
that it
itself in a
comes
sense.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I could be
I
wrong.
don't know.
But
I
but
like
there's
the way
bands
that
like
sounds.
Muse is
Yeah.
like they've got metal, they've got a polka song, they've
Yeah.
got dubstep,
That's
they've got
right.
country,
That's
like they
right.
have
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're doing all right.
That's right.
And so
Yeah.
teach their own.
Yeah.
Which who are some of your currently artists that you're taking inspiration from?
Still quite a bit of country actually. I mean, I've kind of gone in and out of it over the past few years, but I feel like it's the most popular country or the most popular genre in the world right now,
Mm,
and or in like in pop culture.
yeah.
Everybody's doing country, which um, um, I hate that I start to hate that, and then I despise the genre because I'm like
Uh,
everybody's doing it. But no, I still listen to a lot of country. There's some female country artists who I really like. Megan Maroney,
mhm,
um, Ella Langley, those would be a couple.
mhm.
Um, and then I've been listening to they've been putting out music for a long time, but maybe something about coming back to Arkansas and being in the Ozarks, a band called Hollow Coves.
Okay, I don't know.
They're like that acoustic mountain
Mhm.
folk music, it just like feels good. It's like a lot of imagery and just
Yeah.
like perfect driving music.
Mhm.
Um, so them and kinda stripped down piano or
Mhm.
acoustic, like, sad folk song.
Yeah.
That's probably just my favorite
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah.
Gracie Abrams is somebody who's been putting out really good music recently. I like her stuff a lot, so
I can be a bit of a melancholy person where
yeah.
there's certain sad movies or sad music that actually is like feel good music for me,
Oh,
and my wife
yes.
doesn't understand
No,
because
100%.
it's just the opposite for
Yeah.
her. Of like for me, There Will Be Blood is like a feel good movie for
Oh,
me because
yes.
even though it's about
Yes.
like,
That's right.
because it's to me it's like so much about like family and
Mm,
generations and the kid at the end, if you've had 15 years to see it, it's not really a spoiler.
mhm,
But
mhm,
the kid at the end saying like, "I thank God there's none of you in me," to his dad, who's just this sleaze bag, and
mm,
like that stuff. I'm like, yes,
mm.
and where everyone else just sees, like him beating a guy over the
That's
head with
right.
a bowling pin and
That's right.
that kind of stuff.
Well, no, I like that movie a
Mm,
lot, and it makes you feel something, which and then
mm,
I feel like in turn it's good to feel something.
yeah.
That's how it feels to me.
Mm,
Not to mention Daniel Day-Lewis,
oh
who's
yeah.
off the
Hard to
charts
beat.
still.
Yeah,
He's
literally,
the
yeah, like
worst. Yeah.
he's disappeared from
Yeah.
acting, and
Yeah.
I think he's making shoes now.
Is he? Of
Is his
course.
thing.
See,
Yeah.
that's like what that's the thing I envy,
Uh,
like, in some of the best artists, right? Is
yeah.
they do that, and I almost feel like it takes that is the disappearance, the, like, people
Hmm.
who are they can, like, come into a time in life and, like, make the art and showcase it, but then it's not their life doesn't revolve around
Yeah.
that, Because, like, where else do you get the inspiration?
Yeah.
So he probably does that really well,
Yeah.
and
Like
I just admire every artist who does that.
Yeah, not to like downplay the effort that he's put into his career, but it's almost like he's not
100%.
even trying, like it's just coming from that place of
Yeah.
inspiration, and
Yeah.
he wins more Oscars than any
Yeah.
other person, and then's just like, I'm gonna go make leather shoes because
Yeah.
that's what I want to do.
Exactly.
That's pretty
good.
cool.
Yeah.
And which, just like in your day-to-day currently, what's been giving you the most drive and meaning to like get out of bed and get excited and that kind of thing?
You know, it like most recently it's probably been falling in love.
Ah.
And you know, it's been a few years since, you know, I had like a partner in that way before. And I met somebody recently, you know, and I mean, you know, the way it turns your world totally upside down, right?
Yeah.
And I always remember this Matt Healy quote, and he said, "You can't be wise and in love." Dang it, it's
Mm,
true, you know?
that
But I
is
feel
true.
like when I'm falling in love, everything kind of like seems so. Everything else just it almost feels like either it's more colorful or it's black and white, like either way. But it's just like that feels like probably the most recent enriching experience that I've had because it feels real, it feels like a dream, and um, um, yeah, and so I would say as far as inspiration goes, and even from a musical perspective, that's probably been it. Um, and then tied with again, just being back home, and
Mhm.
I'm really excited and eager, and uh, uh, I'm kind of letting go of expectations that I've just placed on myself with creating music and writing songs in the near future, but I, at the same time, I'm eager to see how just kinda being back home and at my roots affects those things, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
I think I need a little bit of time to do what we were just talking about, like Daniel Day-Lewis is making his leather shoes. I feel like I need some of that
Uh,
time right now, you know?
yeah. What is your leather shoes?
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't consider myself like a crazy book reader or
Mm.
anything, but if I can be in a rhythm of waking up and reading like a chapter in the morning, which now I've gotten back in the rhythm of, that really fills my soul. Um, Probably front porches,
Mm.
um, always coffee. I mean, I don't know how many years I've loved coffee, but I become more and more snobbish every year and
Yeah.
proud of it, you know. And now I
Uh,
live near Onyx Coffee, so I'm just like totally crazy about it.
uh,
So yeah, mornings, coffee, front porches, probably going to bed early, and really, I'm trying to lean more into my dental career as
mhm.
well. You know, I've kind of been in and out of working in a lot of offices as I've pursued the music thing pretty heavily the past few years, and I feel like dentistry is a real positive, or it's a real way to impact somebody's life positively. You know, and I've always treated it a little bit more of like a job than like
Mhm.
a passion and having purpose in it. And I'm working on switching that because I'm like, I spent a lot of hours doing this.
Yeah.
Um, why don't I like find what I really love in here and like how I can bring like a real positive energy and spirit and just myself to that profession.
Yeah.
So
Like literally the last interview I did was with my buddy Neil, who we do a lot of these together. But we were talking about like finding meaning in your jobs and
mhm,
finding the things that you like.
yeah,
You're doing it so many hours of your life, and so you got
totally.
to find a way to either make it enjoyable or quit.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
shouldn't spend so much of your life miserable because your health is gonna fail, and
yeah,
you're like making money to save up so that you can buy things when you're older, but then you're gonna be dead because you're stressed out and you're gonna
yeah,
have a heart attack or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I love that you're just doing that.
No, for sure. So and are you y'all doing wedding photography full
Yeah.
time?
I do. My wife is also an ER nurse.
Okay,
I kind of run the business and do the
okay,
editing and stuff.
okay.
But
So that's a creative
mhm.
pursuit and also a job.
Yeah.
How do you link and merge the 2 and like
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it is that it's inherently meaningful since we do
mm,
weddings mostly. Like, you're a part of most of people's most meaningful day, and you get to see this connection between people and them sharing their stories and their friends and siblings giving speeches. And like almost every wedding I tear up, whether it's at the ceremony or at the speeches, because it's just so powerful to see like the connection that people have. Or sometimes the brother of the bride, who's you can tell is just not really an articulate person, gets up because he wants to give a speech, and he's like trying to get out these things that he's never said in front of a crowd. And it's just really meaningful. And so it's easy to bridge in that way. It's not like I'm doing product photography or something, which might be harder to find passion or meaning in. And so and then from our end, just getting to be creative and always try something new. And even at like we had a weekend last year where we had the exact same 2 different weddings on a Friday and Saturday at the exact same venue. And so we thought, we took it on, because initially we thought, well, should we even take on this job? But we thought it'd be fun to, do it all, pack up, go home, come back, and try to do something totally different at the same place and get different vantage points. And so just trying to always mix things up and try something new. And you watch some YouTube video and you're like, that's a cool photo or video idea. I want to try something with some like photography fog and spray things around to make it dramatic, or this different lighting. So it's pretty infinite, kind of like music. Like you can make it whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, that's true. How long have y'all been doing?
I've been doing picture video stuff really since high school, but it became more of a job when we got engaged. So 2016, something like that.
Okay, nice.
So I did some music videos for, what was his name? I'm pretty sure you would know him. Matt.
Brooklyn?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like a live session with him and Connor Dwyer and some of those guys on the back porch at some house with some string lights at night.
Totally. That was definitely open road folk music.
Oh,
right
yeah.
there, right.
Yeah, and it was really good music.
Yeah.
I haven't looked it up recently. I'm sure it's on YouTube, but like it's something that I thought, how is this not on the radio?
Yeah, totally, man. Well, Matt Cooper has always been so talented.
Yeah.
I think just like there's a lot of people that came, graduated from Fayetteville who were doing music, and I just think that he's one of the best.
Yeah.
Their band name back in the day when they went to college,
something like Chief,
Little
Chief. Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Little Chief was awesome, and then Matt Cooper. I don't keep in touch with him, but he put out like an EP in 2019 or something, and somebody just showed it to me like last year, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good, like so good.
Because they had the whole band and I think it was a cello, or like they were a pick bass or something. And
that's right. Yeah, they had a good time, man. And Connor Dwyer, of course, he's always writing music. I see him a lot.
Oh, nice.
And
which for you and your songwriting, what's one of the songs that has maybe been the most meaningful to you that you've written?
Man, it always kind of changes. Like in some ways, I always want to say the most recent song that I just wrote, because it's sort of most synonymous with what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And so that would be definitely true in one light. However, I think Mexico is the most meaningful song to me that I've written. It was the first song that I put out. And it's the one that I just I had no expectations on myself. I had no reason to put it out in the world other than just like, I like the way this feels.
Yeah.
And it was a time of just pure processing. And then honestly, like I don't know if I would have said this previously, but I think people's feedback on the song that I've gotten over the years, albeit, from a small group relatively, but I've just been, it's made me fall more in love with the song because of like, how it's seemingly helped people through like a breakup or a difficult time. And that came as a big surprise to me, but I felt like it made me connect with the song more. So yeah, I think that's kind of like
And which one was that in particular?
So it's called Mexico.
Okay. I thought you were talking about another song too. Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. So Mexico.
Mm.
And then I'll be a classic artist. I'm back, but I have 3.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, I don't know. The ones for me, like
Uh-huh.
that I always get a lot of personal joy out of is
Mm.
just like, and this is what I did with my most recent song that I put out called Queen.
Mm.
Is I just make them really long, and I don't really have like a verse and a chorus a lot of
Uh-huh.
times. And it's like drawn out, and it's
Yeah.
acoustic, and it's more raw and things like that. And it's kind of like what artist doesn't love to just put out something that's more like
Mhm.
um
Like bare bones and
yeah,
raw.
yeah, like this is my
Yeah.
artistry,
Yeah.
but um so that was that's always really meaningful to me, and it's always been a really difficult thing for me to, and that's part of the battle that I've faced, kind of trying to grow my like music, like my audience, and how many people listen to my music, etc. Um, it's difficult for me to alter any aspect of the music, whether it be lyrics or the
Mhm.
production or the way that it sounds, or this course needs to be bigger and
Mhm.
poppier because, like people will really like this. And
Mhm.
um, I, 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 I always struggle with that.
Mhm.
I struggle with being like, I think I'm willing to take like less listeners, especially now,
Mhm.
in order to just put out something that I like. But
Yeah.
that being said, I think my music is still pop. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I could be wrong, but I feel like if someone has a story to tell and they tell it well, whether that's with music or a movie, like it always catches on because it
Hmm.
resonates with people and
Hmm.
people can relate to it. And
Yeah.
whereas there's plenty of movies that you can tell that a studio did all these polls on like
Yeah.
what do people want, and it's
Yeah.
like this super bland
Hmm.
thing that like nobody ends up really watching
That's
because it's
right.
like overly not overly relatable or because it's not,
Yeah.
but like it's just too uninteresting.
Totally.
And so when there
Totally.
is a story that's interesting that anyone could say, I've been there, and like
Yeah.
he's describing exactly how I
That's
felt.
right. That's right.
Mm,
That's inspiring to hear you talk that way, and refreshing,
mm,
because it does remind me. I think, yeah, I think you're right about that.
mm,
Even like the biggest songs or like movies, they really do have like a genuine
mm,
story to tell, I think.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I watched a like a 20-minute documentary on YouTube of that. I don't forget how you say it. It's like Gotia, the guy who did the Somebody That I Used to Know.
oh, yes. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to say his name. I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
And
Yeah.
and it was really interesting, but a lot of it was talking about, yeah, I just wrote this song because it was a breakup song basically, and it was very relatable and comes out and it just blows up the charts unlike anything. And then he just disappears too, kind of like Daniel Day-Lewis, because he had his story to tell.
That's right.
And
That's right.
yeah,
That's right. I feel like I have a new inspiration walking away from this conversation. Is like Daniel Day-Lewis
yeah,
and that guy,
yeah,
just put it out there, like
uh-huh.
walk away.
Yeah, which for you and a lot of this, yeah, podcast finding how to encourage people in positive things. Sometimes that takes like going to the
Mhm.
low points and how you came out of that. So say obviously, this isn't the place to get into like breakup and divorce, but that probably being a
Mhm.
low point in life, what are the things that like brought you out of that slump where you're just
Mhm.
like down?
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, Truly, like, I think my advice to myself looking back, and maybe what I did in a sense was just like one foot in front of the other,
Mhm.
and I still tell myself that if I'm going through something relatively difficult, just put one foot in front of the other, and try to stay like healthy, like physically healthy. Don't do like
Ah,
harmful things to your
yeah,
body,
yeah.
Um, and
Uh,
but like that being said, really music. I mean, music became my best friend
mm,
in those couple years after that. I mean, probably, yeah, definitely the most difficult thing in my life that I've been through. Um, Music became my best friend, and I think like when I moved to a new city, I I, I started playing tennis again, which is a big passion of mine, and I started making some friends through there, and then, things just kinda, like, pick up momentum. I mean, it feels really slow at the time, but, um, met some more friends, and then, like, it's like a year gone by, I looked up and, like, I had a new group of friends, I
Mhm.
had some new hobbies, and it was just like, I can do this,
Mhm.
like, even on my own, like,
Yeah.
and that was one of my biggest fears was just like, I don't know, like, how to live a life on my own anymore. It's like,
Mhm.
I felt like I depended on that person to, like, make our friends, to, be, this for us, and I was
Mhm.
just like, I don't know if I can pick up that slack, and, I think it was just really encouraging, as time went on to see that, "Oh, I can make friends,"
Mhm.
um, I can even have, like, a really good time and, like, invest in new hobbies,
Yeah.
things like that, so
Yeah, you saying like putting your head down one step ahead and then eventually you look up and you're like, "Oh, look at all that I've got."
totally.
Reminds me of this there's a lyric from an AWOL Nation song where he
Mm,
says, "Maybe all of these things made me who I am and I'm only looking up when my head's down." Which is kind of the opposite of what you're saying of like you're only looking around when
uh,
things are bad, but like these things are actually making you the person that you are. And
totally,
so
totally.
that's really which I remembered another super relatable thing about one of your songs was talking about how you don't always, especially in, it's not always a breakup, sometimes just situations in life where there's tension between friends or family. You don't always get to like share your whole side of the story and having
Right.
to deal with like, oh, people think this or that. And and then sometimes you think like, oh, as soon as I get to talk to this person, like we'll clear this up because like it's all a misunderstanding. And then you try to explain it and it doesn't clear up and you're just like, what's going on?
Yes.
Because I hate
Oof.
unresolved
Oh, man, it just
conflict.
sits in you,
Yeah,
right? Oh, man, it
yeah.
festers.
Hmm.
No, 100%. I think that's a big reason why I put out songs about
Hmm.
the whole experience.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have the energy or capacity to, like, call in every single person in my life
Hmm.
and be like, "This is why this
Uh-huh.
happened. This is da 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 da," and I was just like, maybe I can, like, put
Yeah.
out some songs that, like, have some emotion tied to it, and then,
Uh-huh.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which kind of reminds me of I was part of this church a while back that had a big nasty split, and a lot of it revolved around the pastor. And there was one guy from the church who called me just out of the blue, unwarranted, and talked to me for about an hour, not
Awesome,
like asking questions,
awesome.
just like telling me every way that the pastor had ever wronged him, and it was very petty things. And then when I finally got a chance to talk to the pastor, it was less than a 5-minute conversation because he basically said like, "Look, Andrew, like, do you know me and trust that I can like make my own decisions and try to and that I'm doing what I think is best?" And I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I think I could. Like, I
Oh,
know you, and like, you've never
yeah,
forced me to do anything or like, like compelled me to like, I need to think this way or believe this way or do this way. Like, you've just been being you,
mm,
and other people are reacting to
mm,
that. And I saw a lot of wisdom in that of like, sometimes you don't even need to be defending yourself because you just, I mean, there's definitely a place to, but
no,
like, you just
I
gotta
mean,
be. Mhm.
absolutely, yeah. Because if you can accept yourself,
Mhm.
then, like, other people are going to, and then
Uh-huh.
if they don't, then,
Yeah.
then they don't, but then maybe you just don't spend time
Yeah.
together,
Which it's worth carrying on that story because I don't really like getting into drama and church drama stories, but I feel like this is important that a lot of the in that church split, a lot of it revolved around the pastor who was a single older man was helping a single older woman who had three kids with, and one of whom had like really severe needs, like special needs. And he was just trying, like, kind of filling in as a father figure to that family. And people thought it was too close and inappropriate, even though everyone knew that there was no sort of sexual anything. Like, he was just there a lot. He'd have breakfast with them a lot. And they're like, it's like you're acting like playing dad. And it was all these holier than thou type person. And at the end of the day, he's like, if you're going to split things up because I'm trying to help these people, like, I'm going to choose helping people every single time.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not forcing you to stay here. There's a door back there
Yeah.
if you want to go. And I think
Yeah.
that's really admirable that, like, especially in a religious world, like, what's the point of religion if you're not going to help people when it actually
100%.
matters?
Man,
Mm.
especially in that context, I can only imagine how, like, all sorts of meanings get twisted up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, at the end of the day, like, I'm trying to help
Yeah.
people, which is what the message is all about.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
mm,
Which I wanted to ask you too with, there probably aren't many dentists who are trying to be career musicians too. And so what's like the life of a dental
yeah,
career musician
yeah,
and like the struggle between the two?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I kind of found my own ways to make it work, but essentially, like the practical way that it plays out is that I'm kind of like a traveling dentist.
Mm.
And so I fill in for dentists that are on vacation or
Uh,
sick, and just get like, so I have to travel a lot for it.
mm,
One of the downsides, but for a long time, I actually really enjoyed it. So it wasn't a
mm,
downside. Now it kind of would be because I want to be
mm.
stationed. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll go and work for like 2 weeks at a time or a month or 2 months. And usually I'm staying in a hotel or Airbnb. And so honestly, I'm usually pretty isolated in those
Mm,
situations. I'm like in a small town or something. And so when I get off work, there's not a whole lot to do other than just like be by myself in my room
mm.
and in my hotel. And so that's like when I write.
Uh-huh.
And it's a great time to write and reflect. Um and then usually I'll take like, I don't know, maybe like a couple weeks off of working in dentistry after that like assignment.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of when I just like button a lot of things up. I get a lot of recording done and the production and just like some of the technical aspects of the whole music thing. And then I'll go back to work again. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, that over and over. And I've really enjoyed it. Like again, reflecting on the past few years, it's, I think I actually need the job in dentistry for me to almost like, because then music is
Yeah.
an outlet rather than a
Mm,
job.
mm.
And so that really helps me if I have things outside of music that I'm spending my time on. I've like again, then like there's a time and place to get like the creative impulses going rather than just like waking up. And this is for me, but rather than waking up and being like, "I must be creative today,"
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
so that can be quite, um, stifling for me,
Yeah,
so
'cause I'm sure it's hard to sometimes you just have that block, and,
yeah.
Leonard Cohen had said, "If I knew where the good songs came from, I'd go there more often." And
Amen, exactly,
but then on the
exactly.
other side, like, sometimes you just gotta, like, I'm gonna sit down every day for an hour and a half
Mm,
and try to write, and it
yes.
might not come to me,
Yeah.
because I feel like I'm more on that end of,
Yeah.
like, sometimes it's hard for me to just, like, sit down, make the mental space to actually do it,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it'll come once I give
And it
myself
will
that
come,
time.
yeah, and respect. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I greatly respect people who can
Mhm.
do that and have that discipline,
Uh,
within the field, um, um, because that's hard work, like, that's
uh-huh.
when, like, the hard work
Oh,
and the
yeah.
work ethic pays off in the creative industry, and I think like any other industry that, that does lead to success.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
throughout your journey of ups and downs and life lessons, what would you say what's something that maybe mattered to you a lot 10 years ago
Mm,
that now is not really like you
mm.
realize that's not it. That's not where it's at.
Oh, yeah. Um, Fame.
Mm,
That's like, yeah, man, I think having gone to LA and kind of seen all the stars right before me, and again, it's all relative, but I feel like in some ways I got like to taste it,
mm,
and that was one of the most miserable I have been in my life, and
mm,
so I much prefer to be I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still, floats around in my head and stuff, but
Mhm.
I much prefer to be known by, like, a few people and know a few people rather than, like, kind of
Yeah.
not really known by the masses,
Mhm.
and so, that's just a recent lesson that I think I'm still chomping on, but
Yeah.
that would be it.
And on the flip side, what's something that wasn't really on your radar or wasn't important to you 10 years ago that now has become a much bigger part of your life?
Um, um, I don't have a family yet, but I hope to,
Mhm.
and, I would have said, like, a few years ago and on, like, I don't know if I wanna have a family,
Mhm.
especially after a breakup, I was just like, "Oh, wow, I will never, ever allow myself to love again."
Mhm.
And, I think, yeah, I've, like, started looking at my parents a lot more, or up to my parents a lot more and kind of the journey that they've had and a lot of meaning that they've, derived from our family, and, we have pretty close relationships with each other, and I'm like, I like the sound of that.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I think the hopes of having a family.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's
Ugh.
we're in the throes of it. I have to
Y'all are in the
remind
thick of
myself
it, and you're
sometimes,
yeah, you're
like,
like,
this is
"Dude."
not most of the time even, just, sometimes with the meltdowns and diapers and stuff, you're like, "Oh, this is a lot." But I think not like I'm an absentee father or anything, but I feel like I'll excel as a dad with kids that are like 6 plus,
Yeah,
where I
no,
can,
I feel
take them
that.
out and
Yeah,
play ball or
that's
whatever, or do
right.
something creative,
That's right.
whereas the first stage is just keeping them alive. Um,
I do hear
yeah.
that. So your kids are how old?
They're 1.5 and 4.
Okay.
And the 4-year-old is even at a stage now where like he's super manageable.
Yeah.
Um, it's like the meltdowns are far and few between.
Yeah.
We're having actual conversations. He's
Yeah.
asking lots of questions.
Yeah.
And it's really fun because it's like I'm getting to rethink everything because even just asking basic things about how the world works, I'm having to think, huh, like how does that work? Or like how would I explain that to
That's right.
somebody? And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, man.
Mhm.
What was the hardest season the past 5 years of having kids?
Um, Really the hardest part for me has been less any kind of emotional thing as much as just the actual time to keep kids alive.
Mhm.
Because they're awesome, and
Mhm.
even when they have meltdowns, I just always think of I think I've definitely grown in patience because our first kid, it was a big learning curve of he's always crying, what does he want, what's going on, and now we've got two and have a little more experience, and so when our daughter's crying, I think, oh, she's got all these feelings about the world and has none of the tools to like handle that yet, and have a lot more empathy of I just thinking of all the feelings I have in any
Mhm.
given day, and if I had zero,
Mm.
like no one had taught me any way to handle that, it'd be a lot. So, yeah, and then just the building forts and playing around, and I'm always trying to convince one of my friends. She's like, I never want to have kids. I think kids are gross. I don't think most people should have kids, and we debate about it. Cause I'm like, nah, and of course not everybody should have kids, but like they're so much fun and they're totally worth it, and especially like if you invest the time and the energy. I don't have a lot of parent anxiety because I'm like, if kids are surrounded by people they love, not just us as parents,
Yeah.
but we've got friends and other family and
Yeah.
like their teachers that are really encouraging and supporting them,
Yeah.
like they're gonna be okay.
Oh,
And
oh, that's
yeah.
nice. Yeah, that's a nice perspective.
Yeah, not a lot of dad guilt. I
Ta
probably should have a little more dad guilt sometimes.
No, I think that's good though. Yeah,
I'm just like, they'll be fine.
yeah, we'll see. I have no idea
Uh,
how I'd handle that, but
uh,
probably, um, yeah, I need to I've been thinking, like, if I do have kids, I want to, like, mentally prepare for the time it takes. I do think that
uh-huh.
that would be difficult as well 'cause,
Yeah.
I spend so much time just, doing whatever I wanna
Mhm.
do, you know?
Yeah.
That's gotta be a huge change up, so,
Yeah. And I was the youngest kid, so I just wasn't around many younger kids growing
Yeah.
up, so it was
Yeah.
just a learning curve in
That's
that
right.
too.
That's
And
right.
but the little smiles from a baby and the
Mm.
laughs,
Mhm.
they just fill your tank
Uh,
every
that's the
morning.
good
And
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they always want to, do the airplane, laying on your
Yeah.
back and getting them up on their feet.
That's right.
And yeah, there's just nothing like kids having a good time. And then when you have more than one, where they start playing with each other, and brother's bringing, she's upset at the kitchen table, and he's bringing her books to look at and stuff. Just seeing teamwork and all
Uh,
that kind of
yeah,
thing.
that's sweet.
Yeah,
The deeper things.
yeah, and
Mm.
so
Mm.
it's win or if you get to that.
Mhm.
Excited for you. Yeah, especially for artists, since there's so much of the wanting fame or wanting money or the ego. What do you feel like are some of your biggest insecurities as an artist that you've had to overcome?
I mean, displaying myself on social media has
Mm,
been the biggest obstacle of all.
mm,
It's weird. It's like, though I love attention and praise. Oh, I think it's knowing that most of the content you put on social media just kind of flops, especially like
mm,
in today's social media culture with TikTok and Instagram Reels. It's like, I wish that I didn't, but I always do look at the numbers,
uh,
and I mean that's been around for a while, but I don't know. I feel like it even increases more and more. And so I think as an artist, if you really want to get heard, um, you just break through that wall and you tell yourself it really doesn't matter. If
mm,
I believe in what I'm doing, if I believe in the thing that I'm creating, the music or, the art or the film or whatever, you consider the social media aspect of it, the promo of it as a separate thing. And
mm,
like I would tell myself that over and over. I believe in the music. I believe that somebody would benefit from hearing it.
mhm,
So I'm going to do all these things that lead up to it because I want to give it the best chance possible. So, and I think that that is really an act every day of as funny as it sounds, it's almost like getting over yourself. It
mm,
it it feels like you're into yourself, but the more I did like more social media, I kind of just had to get over myself and not really care.
yeah,
Um, so as much as I don't
yeah,
really love that stuff, I think I'd say, do it if you believe in
yeah.
what you do.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with social media, I remember for photo video stuff, I was way late to doing Instagram Reels, and the first one I made was just some phone clips that I'd taken at a wedding and just
Mhm.
stitched them together to some cheesy Ed Sheeran song,
Yeah.
and it got like 10,000
Yeah.
views.
Yeah.
I was like, "What?" And then so the next week, I put all some of our stitched together some of our best footage
Yeah.
and like edited it really well and
Yeah.
spent like half a work day putting it together and put it out, and it gets like
Yeah.
300 views or
Totally.
something. I was
Totally.
like, "What?"
Totally.
I don't understand.
It's crazy, man. I
Uh,
mean I mean, I have hated that fact for the past couple years, and then sometimes I'm just like, "You know what? That's actually good." Like, I don't anybody right now can
mm,
can get exposed,
yeah,
and you don't even have to have the prettiest, stuff or the most well-produced song, and it's just like it's giving everybody a chance, but there's so many people doing it, so,
yeah,
um, yeah.
yep. It's part of it. I think everyone at this point has a love-hate relationship
Yeah,
with
I got
social media.
you.
But yeah, I'd like wrapping up with just a practical challenge to give people,
Mm,
because I like, getting to the end of an audiobook or a podcast thinking, okay, what do I do with this? So if
mhm,
you just had to give a
mm,
practical challenge to people that would
mhm,
make them more compassionate or interesting or
mhm,
make the world a better place, it
mhm,
doesn't have to be music related or
mhm,
whatever, just anything. What
mm,
would you challenge people to do?
mm. Well, I gotta make sure that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it can be an inspiration too, like something
yeah,
you could make the challenge
yeah,
now and say,
yeah,
"I'm gonna do
yeah,
this."
yeah. Because I'm so passionate about this, I would say find a way to slow down your morning.
Hmm.
Um, and so, maybe one practical way of doing that is, take the long way. Whatever you have in the morning, whether it's coffee or tea or you make a waffle, like, take the long way of doing it. So, like,
Mm.
if it's coffee, maybe you do, like, a single cup pour over, or,
Mm.
if it's tea, just get yourself, like, the kettle that you can and buy, like, the leaves, rather
Mm.
than the bag,
Yeah.
or, um,
Oh, that's
if it's,
great.
like, a waffle, like, I don't know, what would you do with that? I don't know how to make
Uh,
waffles, but
just savor it on the back porch.
sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Find a way to slow down the morning. That typically tends to make me more happy and honestly probably more compassionate throughout the day.
Mm.
So, yeah,
Yeah, no, that's great. Americans need to slow down.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, well, any last thoughts or things you wanna add?
I don't think so, man. Thanks for having me. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
been good. I'll definitely put links to music and everything, and
Oh, yeah,
go take a listen.
yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, brother.
till next
Sweet.
time.
I got places I wanna go, people I wanna meet. That story makes sense to me.